Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to our Career Chat series. And today our topic is welding. And with us here today is Robert Smith from Yavapai College. Welcome, Robert. And thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. It's the afternoon I'm recording this. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon to our Career Chat series.
All right, thanks for having me.
So Robert, can you just please tell us something about yourself, where you live, where you're currently working?
Sure, yeah. So I work for Yavapai College at the CTEC, the Career and Technical Education Center, and I teach welding, teach all different kinds of welding. I'm a certified welding inspector, certified radiographic interpreter, certified welding educator, and I I kind of run the welding program here. And so we have students from high school all the way up through retirement age.
That's so cool. So I can even tell my husband to get some welding skills and enroll at the YC for the welding program.
Yes, yeah. So we train people who are interested in welding for fun, and we also train a lot of people who are interested in welding as a career, and we also train a lot of people who have a career in welding and they want to advance their career. So they want to go get a better job, gain more skills, and get paid more, basically.
Cool. So tell me, Robert, how did you get into welding? Why welding? Did someone inspire you to take this career path?
Well, I got into welding. I grew up on a ranch where we had a lot of animals that broke stuff, and then I was kind of a rowdy kid that tore stuff up. And my dad had a welder, and I didn't know how to use it, and he didn't know how to use it, and we just kind of fired it up. And as I broke a motorcycle or a bicycle or a gate or something like that, I would try to figure out how to use it. And then as I got into high school, I took welding and auto body classes, and I learned it through there. I did it as a career while I was in high school, and I worked full time while I was in high school for the last 3 years of high school, and then while I was going to college at NAU, I worked at three different places up in Flagstaff as a welder and as a body man. So that's how I got into it. And then after I finished college, I I went to college to do. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, but I ended up becoming a teacher. And when you start teaching, you don't get paid very much, and I needed to work during the summers, and so I did a lot of welding during the summers, and trying to make ends meet. So
I know
that's how I got
exactly.
started. Yeah.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean about if you're a teacher, you don't make that much money because I used to teach in New Jersey before I started this work. And I would also take summer jobs in order for me to make, because in New Jersey, we don't get paid for the summer. We paid 10 months out of the year. So,
Correct.
so can you please describe, now I know that you had, gone from you were take you your experience in welding started when you were a child going up to high school and then doing the summer jobs. So can you please describe to me your typical day? I know right now you are a teacher teaching the skill, so would you be
Yes.
able to describe both in a sense, because you did have some welding experience working as a welder?
Right. So, there are so many different welding jobs. There are over 100 different welding careers that a person can do. So,
Oh,
different kinds of jobs, their day would be totally different. But for my day, when I was doing stuff, it would be either welding on cars that had been wrecked and pulling them out and then replacing panels and welding them. Or when I was doing structural welding, it would be putting on like full fall gear, climbing up, doing multi-story buildings, and you're working around cranes, wearing a hard hat, wearing a fall harness. You have to be to work on time, and you work, you know, hourly as far as that goes, and it's a lot of hard work. You have to really enjoy working. You don't have to mind getting your hands dirty, getting sweaty. You have to wear all kinds of protective equipment, and work safely above everything else. So you're not putting yourself or somebody else in danger. But as a welder, you've got a welding hood. You can see welding hoods in the background back here, and you've got jackets on and things like that, and gloves, and so you are covered up from all of the welding arc rays and things, and then you're doing your welding um, in all different positions, vertical, overhead, flat, horizontal, all these different positions. And so you're getting into these positions, doing these welds, and then you are waiting for inspections sometimes. When you're working on a building, every weld is inspected, and so you do a certain number of welds, and then an inspector comes through and inspects them, and then says they're good or they're not, and then you go on and finish them out. So it's a lot of work. I really enjoy welding. I enjoy building things. I enjoy working with my hands, and so that that's been really good for me. That was doing, working as a structural welder. Um, as a teacher, it's it's harder in some ways and it's easier in others. So it's not as much backbreaking work, but you have to know a lot more, and you have to. So my typical day is figuring out the materials that we need, preparing those materials, preparing the machines, because I teach like eight different types of welding, and then you have to demonstrate that, and you have to get your students interested and show them what you're going to do, show them the plan, and then show them how to weld it, and then you have to monitor what they're doing. So I have to do it. So the pressure's on me to do it right and to demonstrate it right, and all the different techniques. But then after that, I have to go into the booth with them and make sure that that they understand what I was trying to get across, and then try to show them. And so sometimes that means there's a lot of diagnostic work. So you got to figure out, because people will bring you a weld and say, what did I do right and what did I do wrong? And so you have to try to figure that out. And sometimes you can do it, sometimes you have to watch them weld. There's all different kinds of things. But then there's also grading and
Yeah.
a lot of that fun paperwork
Yeah.
that everybody loves to do. So
When you mentioned that there's 8 different kinds of welding, like are those like different industries that a welder can go to?
well, they are kind of like gateways to welding, or
Okay.
pathways.
All right.
So
Yeah.
like
Mhm.
oxyacetylene welding is a pathway to certain types of jobs. Then there's arc welding that are pathways to certain jobs. And there's pipe welding, gets you into a different job. MIG welding, TIG welding. There's blueprint reading. It I also teach fabrication classes that teaches you how to build stuff.
Mhm.
So once you know how to weld, that's wonderful, but that doesn't mean you know how to build anything, because building something's totally different than just doing a weld. So you have to figure out how to do that too. So there's a lot to it. And that's what I tell my students: when you want to be a welder, you're going to be learning for the rest of your life, because whatever job that you get, I'm going to be able to take you to an entry level position where you can get a job, and then you can learn. Then you will learn all the finer parts of it, how to do it faster, how to do it better, and learn all these different techniques, because I can't teach everybody every technique that there is to do something.
That's good to hear that welding can really have a lot of different options that you go to depending on where you actually want to focus your career path on and what your interest lies in. Like you said, there's the fabrication, there's the I guess the pipe welding, wherein I guess that would be more towards construction, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
And the arc
yeah.
welding would be more like, would that be like considered like a metallurgy, that kind of thing?
Well, no, metallurgy is an advanced degree, or kind of a sideline
Mm.
of welding. And a metallurgist has to have at least a 4-year degree, and they're kind of like a the on the scientific side of it.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah, but I mean, there's all different kinds of jobs in welding. There's the entry level welder, and then there's like line workers, and then there are people who work on the line, and then there's foremans in the there are all these different areas, and then you can jump up to inspection, which is a totally different job and totally different kinds of things. So that's one of the reasons why we offer certification in our program, so students can actually get a job and be able to do it and
So
improve the skills.
that's good. That's really good to know. So what are some of the I would say decisions or difficult decisions that you have to make as a welder? Well, like what are there anything that that you have to, how should I say, make your decision on your own without asking, say, your boss or anything like that?
Well, once you know how to read blueprints and you are able to take that drawing
Mm-hmm.
and you can form a cut list, you can form a bill of materials from that. You can do a sequence of construction to figure out what should I build first, and so depending on how much your company or your boss trusts you and
Mm-hmm.
how competent you are, you could have a job where you don't need any supervision, where a job comes in and you figure it all out and you do it as far as that goes. Or there are other jobs where you have a foreman, and a foreman's job usually is to figure out what materials you need, make sure that things are there logistically on time, so you're not standing around waiting for somebody to deliver something, and get everything cut, get everything set up, get your plan your day out, plan your work day and your work week and stuff. So
Hmm.
a lot of different aspects to it.
That's good because most students or people just like me, I like to do a variety. So a lot students may want to know that there's a lot of things that they can do with this particular career. So what is it that you like best about being a welder?
I love to build stuff. I mean, and just the personal satisfaction of after you build something, and say, "Hey, I built that." You can stand back and look at it. I enjoy being challenged, and whenever you build something, there's always a challenge to it. So it isn't like being an assembly line welder. I did assembly line welding for a short amount of time and realized that that was not for me. I needed more variety. I didn't want to just keep doing the same thing
Yeah,
over and
yeah.
over again. So
And what do you like the least?
the paperwork. There's a lot of paperwork as far as being working for a college and teaching classes and different things like that. I love the students. I love interacting with the students. I love teaching them how to weld, and they do so well. I mean, it's really fun to watch them develop their skills and just catch the spark of welding and just
Uh-huh,
go with it
uh-huh.
and pursue a career.
Yeah, it's always it's a great feeling when a student kind of like hit that light bulb switch, kind of like turn on, and it's like, oh, I got it, and I'm
Yes.
doing it right. It's just like a really nice feeling. So what qualities do you think a person should have, or to be a successful welder, or like what personal qualities would a welder should have?
So it's kind of like being a good employee. I mean, you need to be a self starter, you need to be a hard worker, you need to realize that when you go to work, you're going to work and you're not going to play on your phone or to do anything else or go hide out from your boss. I mean, it's it's a lot of those soft skills. You need to show up on time to work, be there to work, have your mind engaged in what you're doing, and do your best. I mean, that's and always be looking for a way to either do a better job or to increase your skills, or always find something to do. So
Does welding involve a lot of working with others or more independent work?
Both.
Both.
So
Okay.
yeah, it really depends on the type of place that you work at. Some places you're working with a lot of people, you're working with a group, and other places you have your welding cell that you have all to yourself, and you don't have to deal with very many people. So it's very diverse in that
Mm,
way. It can be any way.
mm. So you mentioned that you started learning about welding since you were young, and then you went to NAU. Did you I'm not sure. Did you take up welding as your major when I'm not familiar with the classes or the course or the academic programs at NAU, but did you take up welding as your main major, so to speak, or did you go to a welding school after NAU?
So no, NAU did not offer any welding. So I was already a certified welder when I went to college.
Hmm.
So I got my certification when I was a senior in high school when I was working, and so that was that allowed me to get jobs working in industry. Um, and so I went to school and I started out as an engineering student, and then I changed to construction, and then I changed to education. So my undergraduate degree is in occupational technology education or career and technical education. So
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, like technology education. Okay, because my son teaches technology ed in New Jersey, and he did pursue the same major. So, did you go to? You did say you mentioned that you got your welding certification. Did you go to school for that?
no, I actually went to a welding inspector and paid them for my certification um, to get my first one, and then after that, um, the different places that I worked would also certify me so I could do different types of welding for them.
Okay. So,
So
would you
I did it.
recommend a high school student thinking of a career in welding? Would you recommend them to go um, take up what do you call this, to go to a program for welding, to like say YC, and just not do an apprenticeship or what do you call that, being trained by a welder, so to speak?
Just like on the job training. Yeah. No, honestly, I would really highly recommend that if somebody is interested in a career in welding, that they go to a place like YC or some other place that has a good welding program, because you're going to get such a varied education, so you can pursue any different type of career in welding that you want, and you'll be exposed to a lot more different things. And so the way that I did it, I kind of worked my way into my career. I mean, I didn't know what I wanted to do at the beginning. I knew I didn't want to work construction. I knew I didn't want to do that all the time. I wanted, and I knew that I really wanted to teach. Um, but I learned a lot more after I became a teacher and had to start teaching other students. I pursued other education. So I would spend my summers, and I went to underwater welding training. I have, for that, I've gone to all over the United States for other different welding training courses. And so that has helped me the most. Just earning that certification in that one small area didn't help me as much as learning the vast majority of the different types and kinds of welding.
Well, I'm glad you shared that, Robert, because um, I'm glad that you shared that you had gone to different avenues before you got into welding, because I want students to know that it is okay for them to probably start not at that exact career that they want to, but they can explore other avenues, and that it really helps to go to pursue a career and go to an academic program, because it will not only teach you more, but will also help develop more skills. Like you said, you went for, wow, underwater welding. Does that mean that you
Yeah,
actually weld underwater?
it does. Yes.
Oh, oh,
Yeah.
okay. I guess if you have to fix anything submerged in water, you would have to know how to do that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
actually
Working off of oil derricks and, over in the Gulf Coast and stuff like that.
wow.
Yeah. They've got the lines running right on the sea floor, right into the land
Huh.
where the oil goes right into the refineries.
Now that's an exciting job. Actually doing that refinery and making sure that's all fixed up all the way along the line. Now
Yeah.
that
And then it's a lot of hard work too. Yeah.
yeah. Well, you're combining like underwater scuba there and welding at the same time, being underwater.
Yes.
But yeah, but thank you for sharing that, because sometimes our students kind of get fixated that they have to just go one way, to pursue something that they wanted to do. But I myself had five different careers before I ended up in education. My
Right.
major was in psychology, and that opened a lot of doors for me as well, because I was able to transfer what I've learned in psychology and the skills I've learned to different careers. So thank you for sharing that, your educational journey. So what advice can you give to our high school students with regards to pursuing a welding career?
So my advice would be, while you're still in high school, as early as you possibly can, get out and figure out what you like and what you don't like. Um, and that's what I tell my students and my children. I'm like, it doesn't matter to me if you don't go to college. It matters to me that you find out what your what career you want to pursue. And the only way you're going to do that is by trying different things, figuring out it, and that starts by thinking about it. And I was one of those kids who didn't think about it until I was a senior in high school. And I went to college because I was scared. I was like, well, I know what hard work is, and I don't want to be out there digging ditches, and I don't want to be doing, there's a lot of things that I know I don't want to do, but I'm not exactly sure what I want to do yet. And so I use that time and, that opportunity to look at a lot of different things and figure out, what am I good at? What do I like doing? What kind of a career can I pursue? Because every career is going to have benefits and drawbacks. There are things that you're going to love about it, and there are things that you just have to push through and get done. I haven't found a perfect career yet, so but my advice would just try so many different things and be thinking about it, and um, be talking to other people who are doing different things. So when you go out and, when you go to church, talk to people and see what they have done. And when you go, to your sports, or different kinds of friends, ask their parents what they do. What's fun about what you do? What do you not like about what you do? What kind of the questions you're asking? What is your typical day like? Sit and if you can put yourself in that place and say, well, I could do that. I could sit in 10 meetings today and that would be okay. Well, that's not me. But I could go build something and be cutting metal and be running a forklift and be moving stuff around and welding stuff and putting stuff together. And I could see myself doing that. So everybody's different, and everybody has different gifts, and they have different abilities. You have to find something that fits with your gifts and abilities, and what you want to pursue.
Thank you. That's so true. That is so true. Before I forget, Robert, and thank you so much for that advice. But before I forget, what is the salary range for a welder? Like, I guess depending from the entry level to the higher up, or a foreman, I guess.
So it varies so much depending on what type of welding that you're doing. So the range is going to be large. I mean, so it will vary from like $19 to $20 an hour to start off with, and go all the way up to over $100 an hour to
Whoa.
somebody who is like a rig welder on a pipeline.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's a huge range. I mean, a union job, like union wage and stuff like that, is like $48 for a journeyman welder.
Mhm.
Um, but being in Arizona, it's hard to find union jobs, and we're a right to work state. So I have a lot of students that after a year they're making $25-$30 an hour. Um, but they're also good workers. They're go getters. They are pursuing their career, and they're working hard towards it. So it's there's such a range depending on what you do.
I guess that all depends on what you eventually want to do full time, where you want to live, right? Or
Right.
what you want, where
Yeah.
you want to be. Yeah, yeah, that's so true. That's so true too with other careers that there's also like that how should I say balance that you would want eventually when you finish your degree. Well, thank you
Right.
so much, Robert, for that very informative answers for all the information about welding. Um, Thank you really so much for your time. And hopefully our students will get a lot of about this from this interview and think about what they really want to do and maybe welding is the career path that they want to take and go from there. So thank you so much for your time.
Sure. Great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Welcome back to our career chat series, and today's career is culinary. So today, our guest will be the chef Robert Barr and student Ashley. Sorry, Ashley, I didn't get your last name.
Wassel.
I'm sorry,
Wassel.
Lawful, Ashley Lawful, and he's
Wassel. Wassel?
Lawful. Okay, and she's from Sedona High School, correct? All
Yeah.
right. So, welcome, Ashley. Thank you for joining us today. So, Ashley, can you please tell us something about yourself? Um, where you're from? You're from Sedona High School. Just a little brief introduction about yourself.
So I grew up here in Sedona, Arizona. I go to Sedona Red Rock High School, and I'm currently a junior there. And this year I decided to take the culinary program because I wanted to learn how to cook and see what it was like.
Great, awesome. So, what made you decide to take up culinary? Did someone inspire you, or did somebody tell you to take up culinary?
No, I just haven't really known how to cook. And so I decided to take this class so I can learn a lot of the basic skills and get more in-depth cooking instruction.
Awesome. So, can you describe to us a typical day of a culinary student?
So usually we get here around 7 in the morning. The first semester was just basic cooking skills. So we would learn how to do soups, stocks, vegetable cuts. But as we go through the semester, we start learning more and more things. Today we have garde-manger, which is learning appetizers, how to do sandwiches and everything. And we also do baking here as well.
Nice. That's making me hungry at the moment. That's really cool. So, what is it that you like best?
I really like the baking because I've always been into baking, but I found that the more garde-manger I do, I'm liking that better
Oh,
because
yeah.
the food is a lot better and it's not as sweet.
Uh-huh. So, what do you like the least?
I honestly don't like anything the least. They're all about even. I find all of them as interesting and I learn just as much in each class.
So, as a culinary student, what do you think, what personal qualities or what kind of training do you think that a student would need? Like say, if I, for example, want to take up culinary, what should I have in order for me to succeed in this as a student?
Well, you definitely have to be prepared. You have to have a list of all your recipes and a timeline for the day. And you just need to be able to listen and follow instruction. If you can't do that, it's you get really lost in cooking and you can mess up a lot. But if you're prepared and pay attention, everything's really easy.
Is this your first year taking
Yeah.
up the so that's great. So how many more, I guess you're a junior, so you'll do this until you finish senior?
No, so this year we have 2 semesters of cooking, but next semester or next year, they have a whole year of just baking. And so we can go into that, which I will probably do.
And is this part of the dual enrollment that you're taking at Red
Yes.
Rock? Okay, so do you have plans to continue then to be a chef or a pastry chef, or?
I'm not really sure yet, but it could definitely be a possibility because I really enjoy it.
That's great. What was I gonna say? So if someone is going to take up culinary for as a dual enrollment class, what advice would you give to that student?
I would just tell them that they have to be on time and be prepared for every class. And it's super fun. You get to learn so many different things and it's totally worth it.
So and they have to actually accept. They have to be open to getting up early in the morning, because you said you start your day at 7 o'clock.
Yes, but they also do have an afternoon class, but I like the morning just because you get to get here and get it done and you also have food for the day.
And
So
you don't go hungry.
No, I don't.
do you get to? I gather you get to eat what you prepared.
Yes, and it's very good.
Do you does the, well, I guess I can what do you call this, direct the question as well to Chef Bar. Are you the students, are you, do you prepare, well, with COVID, I'm not sure if you can do it, but do you offer meals or whatever you cooked in the kitchen there to the public?
We don't at this time. We do have a cafe, and we did have the cafe open last year in the spring. We will reopen now that the college is going through their yellow phase. We're looking for student workers to work within that cafe and allow that to be open to customers. But we will have curbside pickup on a lot of the products that we'll be selling. And a good portion of those items that we're selling will be actually made by the students and the instructors here.
Is the cafe inside the high school or outside of the high school?
Actually, it's here in the Sedona Center where the Sedona Culinary Institute is.
Okay. Yes, because I do remember, I am from New Jersey. I recently moved to the area, and the high school, the district where I was from, they also had the same setup. The students, there's a cafe. The cafe is inside the Votex school, and they do serve lunch and takeouts for the public. So
That's very good.
Yep, Sedona is not far from me, and my motto is to have car will drive. So I'll go there once the cafe is open and take a sample. So
I do have to tell you to add to Ashley's. She's done extremely well in the school here, and a lot of students look to her for guidance and to be able to see her as an example. But even more than that, when the students start out here, it's a lecture class. It's a fundamentals principles lecture class that they have to be part of. And so they learn about a good portion of what they're supposed to be doing in the lab through lecture. And it's much more in depth in what they learn. But part of that too was the National Restaurant Association's Serve Safe manager certificate program, where these students go through Serve Safe, which is a sanitation basically course, and they get certified in that. That's nothing to it's not something we look at as being very light in understanding, because the industry says that the chefs, the owners of restaurants, managers, all have to have this certificate. The health department comes in and actually looks for those certificates. So for these high school kids students to be able to pass this certificate test, that the older business owners and chefs and restaurant managers are taking, it's a big deal, and they've done very well, and Ashley did very well within that test itself.
That's great. Well, congratulations, Ashley, for doing such a great job and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Is there anything else that you would like to add and share with our students that are watching this video?
I would just like to say that this class is totally worth it, even if you're not going to go into the restaurant career. But you learn so much, and it's a great skill to have, even for cooking at home for your family. And I've learned so many things I never thought I'd ever be able to do. And I've just really enjoyed the class.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Ashley. Thank you for joining us. And good luck on your class today and for the rest of the day. And soon enough, you will be on spring break.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can I go?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you, Ashley.
Bye.
Thanks, Ashley.
Bye. All right. Welcome back, Chef Barr. How you been doing today?
Very good. Very good. Thank you.
Good. When is your next class?
We have, what's happening now is garde manger, and that means cold kitchen. And the cold kitchen actually does everything from tea sandwiches to ice carvings. And what's beautiful about this type of position in a restaurant, depending on the size of the position or the restaurant itself or the kitchen, you could have a garde manger chef or a garde manger kitchen. If it's a garde manger chef or a position within a kitchen, it's a smaller kitchen, that person in a small restaurant would typically take care of desserts, sandwiches, and salads. And so they call that garde manger because most everything is refrigerated and they kind of work with cold food. They call that RTE foods, ready to eat foods. And so they have sanitation is way high on their list to make sure they're wearing gloves and that their things are clean and sanitized, because those types of foods go right out to the customer, and it's very important. So they're in garde manger now for 2 days, and then for 2 days they're in baking and pastry. And in baking and pastry, they learn everything from the fundamentals of cookies and bars all the way to developing cakes and the various stages of forms of mixing into artisan breads and so on. So they learn about yeast, they learn about all the different aspects of basic baking. In the fall, we'll start our new baking and pastry certificate program, which allows these juniors now, like Ashley, to be able to take a certificate in baking and pastry. So during their high school year, and that's one of the reasons why we developed this course, is for these the high school seniors to come back and be able to learn even further those areas in which they really enjoy, and that's baking and pastry. So they can get a certificate of baking and pastry on top of their culinary arts certificate as a junior and senior in high school. And that honestly is amazing. I go full circle myself. I too, for 4 years within high school, had taken the same classes, although it wasn't as beautiful as these kitchens are. But I took culinary arts during my high school. So to be able to give back, to be able to be working with these high school students, it is just amazing to see them grow and to flourish into young people that really understand a lot more. I mean, honestly, I tell them their first semester, it's going to be the most information they've ever learned at one time in their whole life. And it's really true. These, the amount of terminology, I think they go over at least 900 terms that they have to understand that relate to cooking, and all the way to the structure of a cow and the primal and subprimal cuts of meat, and it just goes on and on and on. The structure of a carrot and so on, so they understand how it should cook and how it should look, and that it has all the vitamins and minerals, that it has the color and texture and everything necessary for them to to personally be to get the nutrients and the flavors that they want, but moreover to be able to share that talent with others.
Wow, that is amazing. I wish I had that when I was in high school.
Oh, it was something else. And honestly, if they don't go into the industry, they will be the best cook. It's something that stays with them
Yes,
for a lifetime. A
it's a
life.
life skill.
I'm sure that if you took up construction or something, and not to say light to that, but then somebody could get tired of building things and go into an office job or something else. But when it comes to food and when it comes to cooking, you have to eat every day. The only thing that we need to do is be able to eat and to um, be able to sustain ourselves. And doing that and having the talent to do that and do it in the right way, you can't help but be a success.
That is so true. So, Chef Bar, how'd you end up taking culinary? Did someone inspire you when you were young or back
Well,
in high school?
I had that question asked to me before. Was my mother a great chef? No, you know what she had? She had 7 kids, and we ate a lot of casseroles. I had tuna and noodles and scalloped potatoes and all those good things coming. I was a boy from Nebraska, so there was meat and potatoes, and we ate well. But I was always smart. I was the one that was always hanging out in the kitchen, waiting for my mom to finish the brownies so I could actually clean the bowl and the beaters and things like that. And I'd miss my brothers and sisters say, wait a minute, and you have to be. It's all timing. So I was always there, and it wasn't until I was a little bit older and I wanted a couple of things, and my parents said, well, you'll have to try to make money. And so I started working in a neighborhood restaurant as a busboy. And I probably was a busboy for 2 weeks. And then a cook didn't show. And I went right into the kitchen and I've never left. It's been my career for 40 years.
Did you when you started working in the restaurant, did you how should I say um continued on by taking a major in culinary arts?
I did. As a matter of fact, I actually taught before I actually got my degree. So I
Oh,
worked with a community college in Omaha, Nebraska, that at the time only had a couple dozen students, and I was on the advisory board committee, and then I was also on the on staff, and I taught non-credit courses and things like that. Even as a young 20-year-old. And in doing that, it allowed me then to get into the industry. And I had a choice to go to school or to continue working. And, the money was, for me, as at that age, was really good. But I knew I needed education. That was the only way I was going to improve. And I had kind of a scare. I cooked something that I ended up making some people sick. I actually didn't bring something up to temperature enough, and I didn't know about ServSafe. I didn't know about the danger zone and when bacteria grows and things like that, like I do now. And I said, oh man, I need to go to school. And so my first school was called Yavapai in Pays, France, in the county of Pont-sur-Yon, which is actually northwest Burgundy in France. And I learned culinary arts. My father said, we can go to school in the United States, or we can go over to France or go overseas. And I didn't know a language at all. I didn't take any language courses. And so he found a school that they actually taught French. And then next thing you know, they said it's a 2-year waiting list. And within a week, I was told, can you get a passport and be here in 2 weeks? We had an opening. And I went, oh my heavens. So I spent 17 hours on a plane, found myself in the middle of Paris, and then took a train south to the school. And I was just a young, early 20s individual who didn't know a language in a whole different country, but it it was remarkable. It was just amazing, and learned so much, and did some work in Lyon with Pierre Trugot, which was the only 4-star hotel restaurant in France at the time. Come to find out, Amy, I'm doing my genealogy and I'm finding out that my father's side of the family wasn't necessarily Irish. They were more French. And I find out that I'm only miles away from my ancestry where they were when I was going to school. So it's amazing. We go full circle in many different ways. We find ourselves doing the things that we know are innate within us. But this is the art form that someone could truly love and consume, and have it be all of who you are. That's with everything in life. That's with language, that's with flavors, that's with smells. It's just remarkable, the experiences that I've had. And honestly, there's probably at least 2, maybe 3 things I believe that no other chef has done that I've done. And if we talk at another time, I might tell you some of those things. But, and they're all good. They're really actually remarkable. But it's been a tremendous career, because I came back to my job position that I left when I went to culinary school. I became executive chef at a hotel 10 years before I planned to be an executive chef, because I kind of mapped out the way I wanted things to go. And I ended up cooking for Ray Charles, B.B. King, the vice president, Dan Quayle at the time. And the list goes on with Brooks and Dunn, and a lot of famous people, because they came to this particular hotel and I was able to cook for them. And then I traveled with some. So it was pretty amazing. I was also even chef for the San Antonio Spurs when they won the world championship the last time. So the experiences were tremendous. This industry, this job career can take you in so many different avenues and roads to be a true success. And what happens is we just touch base on these students, because we're not sure what they're going to, their expertise is. And so if we hit so many of these different facets of cooking, like Ashley said, she loved baking, but all of a sudden she's in garde manger and she's very talented in finding out this is it for me. I had a student last year that actually wasn't doing very well on the hot side, the savory side, as we call it, the garde manger side, or the actually hot food cooking. And he came over here to the bake shop, and we thought, oh boy, is he going to be a success or not? Come to find out, he pipes out his first rose for his cake and did a tremendous job. And we looked at him, I got goosebumps. I said, this is what you're supposed to be doing. And so he lit up and his life changed, and he did these beautiful cakes, and we found out this is it. And that's what he's doing now after graduating from high school, is he now is making these beautiful cakes and making money and has a great job doing what he loves to do. And that's ultimately what we're after.
That is such an awesome thing. And you had an incredible educational journey. I mean, France, most people would just dream of going to CIA in upstate New York.
Yes.
But you went to France, and you've cooked for all these famous people. Wow. I'd love to do that. I love to cook. I can say I'm a good cook. I'm a good baker too, but boy, oh boy, that is really awful. So what do you like best about, before I forgot, so how did you decide to become a teacher? Are you still a chef? Are you still doing that on the side in addition to your teaching?
I think it's honestly just recognizing how much patience I had. And with that, and then teaching in the very beginning of my career, knowing that even as a chef of a hotel or a restaurant, my wife and I did own and run 2 different restaurants. We also had our own catering company. I also retailed my own barbecue sauce. And so we try to hit all the various facets of the business. And because there's so much, if you're not doing something in one respect, then you can go on to another and to another, and it really, really works out. And so when it comes to teaching, it just came, it was almost natural to be able to want to share what I learned even as a high schooler with others. And as an executive chef, you have to teach anyway. I mean, the ultimate goal is to be able to leave your kitchen, take a day off, and know that it's actually running as if you were there. And if you're doing that, you're doing something right. Honestly, if you have to always be there, then you wear yourself out, and then you're not any benefit to anybody, even your customers. So really, in doing that, half of my career has been on the educational side.
So what do you like best about being a chef?
I think, well, it probably shows I like to eat, but I think more than that, I like the creativity of being able to share what I know, and then to be able to see others actually take a look at that and go, and then find their own little niche that they can find out how well they are in certain things or not, or so on. And just to see students light up when they've actually accomplished something, that I think it's that instant gratification that they might not necessarily see on a day-to-day basis. But food allows you that, to be able to be creative and then understand that people enjoy it. You can't put the food on a wall in a museum and have people walk by every so often and go, I like that. With food, it's there, it's done, and they eat it, and then right then and there, there's satisfaction or not. And I've always told my students, the only difference between them and I is I've made more mistakes. And then with that, you turn around and you say, well, I'm not going to do that again. And then you just kind of become the master of what you really, really want to take care of and handle. And so it's just been a wonderful trip, and I'm in a perfect place to be able to teach these kids this art form.
Well, I'd say you're doing a wonderful job sharing your knowledge and your expertise and your skill to these young students, to these minds that are constantly growing and developing. It's always a delight. As a former teacher, it's such a delight to see that sparkle in their eyes when they get it, like
It's
when they
true.
learn something. Is there anything that you like the least?
Well, I know that it was important to get into this style of position to have a degree. And so when we talk about students finishing out school, whether it's culinary arts, it can go to the next level. It can go to the point, as I did, and got a associate degree in culinary arts management and leadership and education. And then I finished out with my bachelor's in business, which allowed me then to open a number of businesses, either for other owners or for myself. And so this is, like I said, this career is so wide open. You cannot say, I just want to bake cakes or something. I knew that I was a really good chef in cooking, and I love desserts and I love baking. So I took other classes that allowed me to be a better baker, so I could actually teach the class. And I've become a very good baker. And so with that in mind, it's so wide open for all of us to be able to tackle something new. Our classes now are hybrid. We also, and I should inform you that we have almost weekly these Zoom cooking classes that we have our instructors do. And we did soul food, we did Mardi Gras. We're going to have one coming up at St. Patrick's Day. And people, they sign up, they get a recipe, they get their ingredients, they get their equipment ready, and then we start the Zoom and they cook right along with us, and then they have dinner ready for that day. And it's been very successful. So we learn many different ways. We're teaching many different ways. These students, honestly, are using what's called a hybrid course. So they have what's called Canvas, and they go online. They get their homework, they get their reading assignments, They get their recipes, everything online, so that they are ready and prepared to come into the lab to be successful, because their time is limited during the lab time because of high school. So we make it easier for them, for anyone wanting to learn more about this type of business. And it's been really remarkable for us to be able to evolve and change. You see it now, you're in one of our kitchen labs. This is the baking lab, where we have the technology to be able to share with you and others this important aspect of learning, especially in culinary arts. You can't help but see that. And as Ashley said, she was, they just start out, they're not sure, but then it just kind of triggers many different levels within them, what it is they want to do, or maybe even focus on, or just enjoy the rest of their life. And then be able to be part of that, it's remarkable. I've had probably over 2,000 students that I still have a handful call me and say, this is what I'm doing, this is where I'm at. And I'm just floored at the success and love that there is within this type of career.
Are those culinary classes that you mentioned earlier with the different themes, are those open to the public, or are
They are.
Oh, okay. So they just have to go
They're
to
through our community ed program, our non-credit classes or enrichment classes with Yavapai College. So somebody could actually go to yc.edu and then look up community ed classes or enlightenment classes, and you'll actually see our promotions for the various cooking classes. Or look up yc.edu/culinary, and you'll see our culinary webpage. We also have a Facebook page and an Instagram account, so you'll have to track us that way too.
That's cool. So, if you don't mind, what is the salary range for, say, I know there's different levels of chef, I believe. So can you just give us like a brief on what would be the salary range? Because sometimes students want to know too, okay, how much will I make as a chef or as a pastry chef?
Well, I'm going to tell you, you talked about the Culinary Institute of America, and I had an opportunity to go to school there. That's like people say that's like the Harvard of culinary schools. But in all honesty, when you have when school costs that much, it becomes really tough to get in the industry and then say, I'm going to make up this kind of money to pay for school. Our schooling, this certificate, and really focusing in on the true aspects of cooking that are derived by those individuals in the industry that come in, they look at our curriculum, they look at our what we're doing, and they say, yes, do this, no, don't do that. And so we tailor these individuals to be a better success in the industry today. And in saying that, it allows them for better pay as they get out of school. But school here is minimal cost comparative to these other culinary schools. And we're teaching the same thing, and with a better teacher to student ratio. So with that in mind, these students come out, they can start off on the line in a kitchen, they can start out, and you're making, it can range, and it really depends on the individual, but they go from our new minimum wage, but even more than that. Typically it's a few dollars more than minimum wage. And then once they get established a year or two, then they can get salaried positions that can range from, I'd say 30,000 to 50,000 a year.
That's pretty good. And
Yeah.
would I guess as a chef, say if you're working for a restaurant, do they get this benefits similar to a person working in an office or in a company, like a vacation, or because I know if you own your own restaurant as a chef, then you basically make your own establish your own benefits and your vacation and basically pass it on. But if you're, say, a pastry chef in a bakery or in a restaurant, do you get the same benefits as other people would have in a company?
I think when it comes to that, I mean, sometimes we have to go through various positions. What the students learn here is many different aspects of the business. especially in the kitchen. And in understanding that, they can be a better asset within the kitchen doing various positions. Once an individual has established themselves like that, they can't help but be a success in the kitchen for those owners, and then eventually become that salaried person with the benefits and things that come along with that.
Okay.
Sometimes just the opportunity of having a job that pays well, and then they get a free meal each day seems to be pretty darn satisfactory in some respects until they start wanting a family and so on and so forth. And then those positions come as their education increases and as they learn a little bit more about what they're doing and get into more of a management or training position.
I see. So, what advice can you give our high school students as to if they want to pursue this career? What qualities or that they need to have in order to be successful in the culinary career?
Well, just we kind of mirror the industry. If these students say that they have class at 7 a.m. and they have to get up early, it's not any different than opening a restaurant or working breakfast or doing something like that. You have to get up. So timeliness is critical. To be early is to be on time. And so to be prepared and ready, even with their readings, having their recipes, their timelines that allow them to time management better, having more resource management with what they're doing with their homework and getting things accomplished makes you so much better individual working in this type of industry, because it's so demanding and there's so many different aspects to it that you've got to be awake and aware and empowered to do a very good job no matter what comes your way for that day. And each day is different. This hospitality industry, this type of industry takes care, it's all about service to others. And as we focus in on serving others to make people happy, whether it's eating or serving or whatever it might be, we can't help but feel good inside, which allows us to be a better individual, which allows us to be a better employee and a better person. So it all kind of works together. And as they start making sure that they are on time and they're getting the work done, it only establishes who they are, their character of within work. And so if they are on time and so on, it doesn't even matter if it's culinary arts. You just can't go into your job position whenever you feel like it. I suppose there's jobs like that. I'm not sure what they might be, but timeliness is critical. The effort that's necessary and the energy, but to be able to do what you love, now that's a whole nother story. When many individuals out there in this industry are working jobs and you can see it in their eyes that they don't particularly like or they're not happy with. And how is their production? How are they within their work? Now, there's some of them has worked it so long, they've gotten really good at it, but they're still not happy. But if you're able to serve, you're able to do the art form that you truly, truly love, and to be able to do it as a job, oh my heavens, you can't but help but be a true success in whatever you do within this hospitality industry.
Yep, you're absolutely right. It makes a big difference if you enjoy and love what you do for a
Right,
living. I mean, every day is not burdensome, you're just raring to go right away.
right.
Well, thank you so much, Chef Bar, for all this wonderful information. I'm so psyched up now to go to the website and sign up for some of those classes, and
Please do.
and
Yeah,
maybe even take up a certificate in pastry.
please
Like
do.
you
Yeah.
said, Sedona is not really far from Prescott Valley. It's only
No,
an
it's
hour
not.
away.
It's
So
just a little tiny hill in the way, but I'll
yeah, that's just the tunnel Cape Verde. Once I go down the hill, I'm fine. But
and we have our online classes, we have our face-to-face classes that meet a couple times a week, and then we have our face-to-face lab classes. These are all hybrid, so a lot of the information's online, but allows you to come in for one day a week and actually work this for 32 weeks, 2 semesters, and be able to come in on one day. Most people, they can take a day off and know that they're getting the education and certificate necessary for them to be a better person, to be a better success in their job, or to be more focused in on the things that you love. And one day a week to be able to do that is really it's been very beneficial for those students that we have coming in for that. We have them coming from Flagstaff, from Prescott, from Dewey. They're coming all over the area just to come and learn this true art.
That's so cool. Thank you. Thank you so much again for your time and for joining us today and for all that wonderful information.
Thank
Um,
you.
you're very welcome. Thank you.